The Bible opens our journey into the enduring conflicts between Jews and Arabs with a pivotal figure, Abraham. His life was marked by divine encounters and promises that would alter the destiny of nations. In the ancient world of Mesopotamia, Abraham was called by God, not as a warrior or ruler, but as a man of extraordinary faith. This moment is captured in Genesis 12:2, where the Lord says, "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing." These words set the foundation for a covenant that would transcend generations, forging both an identity and a destiny for Abraham's descendants. Abraham's story begins in a world where fertility and lineage defined honor and legacy. He and his wife Sarah faced a deeply personal challenge. They were childless. Advanced in years, the couple carried the weight of barrenness, a condition viewed with social and personal despair. For Abraham, the divine promise of countless descendants must have felt like a distant dream, a hope tinged with the impossibility of their circumstances. For Sarah, each passing year without a child was a reminder of unfulfilled desires, chipping away at her patience and faith. Amid this struggle, Sarah conceived a plan to overcome what seemed an insurmountable obstacle. Reflecting the cultural practices of her time, she offered her Egyptian servant Hagar to Abraham as a surrogate, hoping this arrangement might fulfill the promise of a lineage. This act, born out of desperation, was not uncommon in the patriarchal societies of the ancient Near East, where family survival often depended on such measures. Abraham, moved by his love for Sarah and perhaps by a hope of seeing God's promise fulfilled, agreed to her suggestion. Yet, as Hagar conceived, a dynamic of jealousy and rivalry began to brew within their household. Hagar, now carrying Abraham's child, found herself in a complex position. No longer just a servant, she represented the realization of a promise, albeit through human intervention. Sarah, on the other hand, struggled with feelings of inadequacy, watching her servant accomplish what she could not. This turning point in Abraham's story was more than a family matter. It laid the groundwork for tensions that would echo through generations, shaping the identities of two great nations and fueling rivalries that persist to this day. Yet, amidst these human struggles, God's sovereign plan continued to unfold, showing that even in moments of doubt and discord, his promises remain steadfast. The birth of Ishmael was a pivotal moment in Abraham's story. It symbolized the attempt to fulfill God's promise through human means and set the stage for tensions that would span generations. Hagar's pregnancy initially brought a sense of triumph and relief, as it seemed to fulfill the long-awaited promise of descendants. Yet, this joy was short-lived, as the dynamics within Abraham's household began to shift dramatically. Hagar, once a servant, now carried Abraham's firstborn, a position of honor that altered her relationship with Sarah. As her pregnancy advanced, Hagar began to view herself differently, no longer just a servant, but the mother of Abraham's child. This shift in status created a sense of pride, which led her to look upon Sarah with disdain. For Sarah, this change was deeply unsettling. What she had hoped would be a solution to her despair instead magnified her feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. The tension between the two women escalated quickly, creating a household filled with conflict and resentment. Sarah, unable to tolerate Hagar's perceived arrogance, began to mistreat her. The once hopeful plan to build a family through Hagar now became a source of anguish for all involved. The human attempt to intervene in God's divine plan had introduced strife into what was meant to be a story of blessing and fulfillment. Overwhelmed by Sarah's harsh treatment, Hagar fled into the wilderness, seeking escape from the oppressive environment. Alone in the desert, she faced not only physical hardships, but also emotional and spiritual turmoil. It was in this moment of despair that she encountered the angel of the Lord, a divine messenger who brought her words of hope and reassurance. The angel said to her, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Genesis 16:8. This question was more than a mere inquiry. It was an invitation for Hagar to reflect on her situation and the path ahead. The angel delivered a profound message. "Return to your mistress and submit to her. I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." Genesis 16:9 through 10. This promise was not just a command to return, but a declaration of God's care for Hagar and her unborn child, Ishmael. The name Ishmael, meaning "God hears," was a testament to God's awareness of Hagar's suffering and his plan for her future. Humbled and encouraged, Hagar returned to Abraham's household, carrying the promise of a great future for her son. Ishmael's birth marked the beginning of a lineage that would play a significant role in biblical history, but it also solidified the rivalry between Sarah and Hagar. While Abraham rejoiced at the birth of his firstborn, Sarah's jealousy and insecurity grew, knowing that Ishmael represented a path to fulfillment outside of God's original promise. This chapter in Abraham's story reveals the complexities of human relationships and the consequences of trying to take control of divine plans. Yet, even amidst these struggles, God's grace was evident. Ishmael's life, though born from human intervention, was not overlooked by God. His promises to Abraham extended to Ishmael, ensuring his importance and place in the unfolding narrative. The arrival of Isaac was a moment of unparalleled joy and fulfillment in Abraham and Sarah's lives. After decades of waiting and wondering whether God's promise would ever come to fruition, the impossible became reality. God visited Sarah in her old age, just as he had promised, and she conceived a son. The birth of Isaac was not only the fulfillment of a divine promise, but also a testament to God's faithfulness and ability to work beyond human limitations. Sarah's initial reaction to the news of her pregnancy was one of disbelief and astonishment. When she overheard the angel of the Lord telling Abraham that she would bear a child, she laughed inwardly, thinking, "After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Genesis 18:12. Her laughter reflected the natural doubts of someone who had long endured the pain of barrenness and the seeming impossibility of motherhood at such an advanced age. However, God's response was clear and unwavering. "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Genesis 18:14. This rhetorical question became a cornerstone of faith, emphasizing that God's power knows no bounds and his promises are sure. Sarah's laughter, initially rooted in skepticism, would later transform into a symbol of joy and gratitude. When Isaac was born, the event was marked by profound celebration. Abraham, now 100 years old, and Sarah, at 90, marveled at the miracle before them. Sarah declared, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." Genesis 21:6. Her words carried a dual meaning: the joy of Isaac's birth and the acknowledgement of God's ability to turn doubt into delight. The name Isaac, meaning "he laughs," was a fitting tribute to the transformative power of faith. It served as a reminder of Sarah's journey from despair to fulfillment, from doubt to trust in God's promises. The child's name became a living testament to the joy that comes from God's faithfulness. Isaac's birth not only fulfilled God's covenant with Abraham, but also signaled a new chapter in the story of salvation. Through Isaac, the lineage of Israel would be established, paving the way for the nation through which God's redemptive plan for humanity would unfold. Isaac's arrival reinforced the idea that God's timing is perfect, even when it defies human understanding. However, the birth of Isaac also intensified the tensions within Abraham's household. Ishmael, now a young boy, witnessed the shift in dynamics as Isaac became the center of attention and the heir to God's covenant. This change created a deeper divide between Sarah and Hagar, as well as between Ishmael and Isaac. The joy of Isaac's birth was accompanied by the reality of human conflict, reminding us that God's promises are often fulfilled in the midst of trials and challenges. Yet, the birth of Isaac stood as a beacon of hope, illustrating that God's plans are steadfast and his promises never fail. As Isaac grew, his presence in Abraham's household began to reshape the dynamics within the family. The joy surrounding his birth was undeniable, but it also brought tensions to the forefront, particularly between Sarah and Hagar and their respective sons, Isaac and Ishmael. What had once been a household striving to balance relationships now faced a deepening division, reflecting the complexity of human emotions and the consequences of past decisions. Ishmael, the son of Hagar, had enjoyed a special bond with his father, Abraham, for years before Isaac's birth. As Abraham's firstborn, Ishmael carried the hopes of lineage and legacy, even if he was not the son of promise. However, Isaac's arrival changed everything. Isaac was not just another child. He was the long-awaited child of the covenant, the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham and Sarah. This elevated position inevitably created rivalry and jealousy, emotions that began to surface as the two boys grew. The pivotal moment of conflict is recorded in Genesis 21, 9 through 10, where Sarah observed Ishmael mocking Isaac during a family celebration. While the specific nature of Ishmael's actions is not fully detailed, it was clear enough to ignite Sarah's maternal instincts and her deep-seated fears about Isaac's future. To Sarah, Ishmael represented a threat, not just to Isaac's inheritance, but to his status as the chosen child through whom God's promises would unfold. Sarah's response was swift and decisive. She demanded that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away, declaring, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." Genesis 21:10. Her words revealed the intense emotional stakes at play, rooted in both protection of Isaac and unresolved bitterness toward Hagar. For Abraham, this was a heartbreaking request. Ishmael was his son, and Abraham loved him deeply. The thought of casting out Hagar and Ishmael caused him great distress. However, God intervened, assuring Abraham that Ishmael too would be blessed and become the father of a great nation. In Genesis 21:12-13, God said, "Do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." With a heavy heart, Abraham obeyed. He prepared provisions for Hagar and Ishmael and sent them into the wilderness. It was an act of profound sorrow, but it also demonstrated Abraham's trust in God's promise to care for Ishmael and fulfill his plans for both of his sons. As Hagar and Ishmael departed, the separation marked a defining moment in the biblical narrative. It symbolized the culmination of the tensions and rivalries that had grown within Abraham's household. Yet, it also set the stage for God's continued work in the lives of both Isaac and Ishmael, showing that his promises and blessings extend even in the face of human conflict. As Hagar and Ishmael left Abraham's household, they entered the harsh and unforgiving wilderness, carrying limited provisions and the weight of uncertainty. This journey was not only physical, but also deeply emotional. Hagar, a mother facing despair, had to navigate survival while shielding her son from the harsh realities of their circumstances. For Ishmael, a boy growing up in a world of rejection and displacement, the wilderness became a crucible of transformation. Genesis 21:14-15 describes their initial struggles. Early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. With their provisions depleted, Hagar's strength faltered, and her hope began to wane. The desperation of their situation reached its peak when Hagar, unable to watch her son suffer, placed him under a bush and moved a short distance away, weeping in anguish. She cried out to God, overwhelmed by the seeming hopelessness of their plight. This moment captures the profound vulnerability of a mother's love and the pain of helplessness in the face of adversity. However, in this darkest hour, God intervened. Genesis 21:17 recounts, God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there." This divine reassurance marked a turning point, reminding Hagar that neither she nor her son had been forgotten. The angel's message was more than words of comfort. It was a declaration of hope and promise. The angel instructed Hagar to lift Ishmael and take him by the hand, assuring her, "I will make him into a great nation." Genesis 21:18. In that moment, God's promises became tangible, offering Hagar the strength to face her circumstances with renewed purpose. Following this encounter, God opened Hagar's eyes to see a nearby well of water, symbolizing his provision and care. This well became a lifeline, not only meeting their immediate physical needs, but also representing the deeper spiritual truth that God sustains his people even in desolate places. With access to water, Hagar and Ishmael regained their strength, finding the resilience to continue their journey. The wilderness, once a place of despair, became a space of divine encounter and transformation. Hagar's experience serves as a powerful testament to God's faithfulness and his ability to bring life and hope in the midst of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Ishmael, too, emerged from this trial with a newfound strength, shaped by the hardships he endured and the divine intervention that preserved him. Hagar's journey illustrates a profound truth. Even when cast out and marginalized, God remains present, offering provision, guidance, and an unshakable promise. The wilderness, far from being a place of abandonment, became a testimony to God's care and a precursor to the great nation Ishmael would one day father. As the years passed, Ishmael grew into a resilient and capable young man, shaped by the trials he faced alongside his mother, Hagar. Their life in the wilderness required resourcefulness, determination, and unwavering faith in God's provision. In this challenging environment, Ishmael developed the skills and character traits that would define him as a patriarch and a leader. Genesis 21:20 offers a glimpse into God's enduring presence in Ishmael's life. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert, and became an archer. This statement encapsulates the divine care and guidance that surrounded Ishmael despite his circumstances. The wilderness, which had once seemed a place of desolation, now became a space of growth and preparation for his future. Life in the desert was demanding, but Ishmael thrived. He became a skilled archer, a talent that not only ensured his survival, but also positioned him as a provider and protector. His mastery of the bow symbolized his adaptability and strength, qualities essential for thriving in a nomadic lifestyle. Hunting and navigating the arid terrain became second nature to Ishmael, reflecting his connection to the land and his ability to overcome adversity. Hagar, as a devoted mother, played a vital role in shaping Ishmael's character. She taught him resilience and self-reliance, drawing from her own experiences of survival and divine encounters. Her love and guidance provided a stable foundation, even in the face of uncertainty. Together, they forged a life marked by perseverance and faith, embodying the strength found in relying on God's promises. As Ishmael matured, his story began to intertwine with the larger narrative of God's plans. Hagar, recognizing the importance of forming alliances and ensuring her son's future, arranged for him to marry an Egyptian woman. This decision held cultural and historical significance, connecting Ishmael to his mother's heritage and creating a lineage that would extend into the broader fabric of history. Genesis 21:21 records this important milestone. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. This marriage represented more than just a personal union. It was a step toward fulfilling God's promise that Ishmael would become the father of a great nation. His marriage symbolized the beginning of a new chapter, where his lineage would carry forward the legacy of resilience and divine blessing. Ishmael's life and growth in the wilderness highlight a profound truth about God's faithfulness. Even when cast into challenging circumstances, God's presence remains steadfast, guiding and nurturing his people. Ishmael's story serves as a testament to the strength that can emerge from adversity and the transformative power of divine provision. As Ishmael established his own family and stepped into his role as a leader, his life became a reflection of God's promises fulfilled in unexpected ways. The boy, once cast out into the wilderness, grew into a man of strength, skill, and purpose, laying the foundation for the generations to come. As Ishmael matured and built a family of his own, his story transitioned from that of an individual navigating trials to a patriarch shaping a legacy. His descendants, known as the Ishmaelites, became integral to the history of the region, fulfilling God's promise to Hagar and Ishmael that he would father a great nation. This legacy not only affirmed God's faithfulness, but also set the stage for the cultural and historical impact of Ishmael's lineage. Genesis 25:12-18 provides a detailed account of Ishmael's descendants, stating that he became the father of 12 princes, each of whom established a tribe. These tribes would go on to inhabit the regions stretching from Havilah to Shur, near the borders of Egypt and Assyria. The formation of these tribes underscores the vastness of God's blessing, as Ishmael's lineage grew and flourished across diverse and expansive territories. Each of Ishmael's 12 sons carried forward the strength, resilience, and leadership traits of their father. Their names and identities reflected the diverse and rich cultural heritage of the Ishmaelite tribes. These descendants became known for their skills in trade, navigation, and survival in the harsh desert environment. The tribes established strong networks that allowed them to thrive in one of the most challenging landscapes on Earth, leaving a mark on the history and development of the Middle East. The 12 tribes of Ishmael stand as a testament to God's unwavering promise to bless Ishmael and his descendants. Though Ishmael was not the child of the covenant made with Abraham through Isaac, God's faithfulness to his word ensured that Ishmael's lineage would still hold an important role in the unfolding of history. This demonstrates God's capacity to work through diverse paths to fulfill his plans and purposes. Ishmael's descendants were not only significant in their time, but also in the larger biblical narrative. The Ishmaelites are mentioned in connection with Joseph, one of Jacob's sons, who was sold to them by his brothers. Genesis 37:28. This incident highlights the ongoing interactions between the descendants of Ishmael and Isaac, showing how their stories intertwined in unexpected and impactful ways. The legacy of Ishmael and his descendants also extended into cultural and religious traditions. In Islamic tradition, Ishmael is regarded as a prophet and an ancestor of the Arab people, connecting his story to the roots of one of the world's major faiths. His willingness to submit to God's will and his resilience in adversity are celebrated as examples of faith and strength. The impact of Ishmael's lineage reminds us of the far-reaching implications of God's promises. While Ishmael's story is often seen as secondary to that of Isaac, it holds its own significance as a demonstration of God's inclusive love and provision. The growth of the Ishmaelite tribes showcases how even those who may feel on the periphery of a promise are not forgotten by God. Through the lives of Ishmael and his descendants, we see a broader picture of God's sovereignty and grace. Their story invites us to reflect on the diversity of God's plans and the ways in which he fulfills his promises across generations. As the father of a great nation, Ishmael's life stands as a beacon of faith, resilience, and the enduring power of divine blessing. The relationship between Ishmael and Isaac is one of the most complex and intriguing dynamics in the biblical narrative. As the sons of Abraham, their lives were intertwined with God's promises, yet their paths diverged in ways that created tensions and shaped history. Their relationship not only reflects family struggles, but also serves as a powerful metaphor for the challenges of unity and reconciliation. Ishmael, born to Hagar, represented the fulfillment of Sarah and Abraham's attempt to take God's promise into their own hands. Isaac, on the other hand, was the child of the covenant, born through Sarah as a direct result of God's miraculous intervention. These distinct origins set the stage for a rivalry that would resonate through their lives and the lives of their descendants. From an early age, the differences between the two boys were evident. Genesis 21:8-10 describes a moment of tension when Sarah saw Ishmael mocking Isaac during a celebration of Isaac's weaning. This incident heightened the rivalry between the two sons and led Sarah to demand that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. Sarah's words, "That woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac," reflect the deeper concerns about inheritance, identity, and the future of the covenant. Abraham, torn between his love for Ishmael and his duty to the covenant, was reassured by God to listen to Sarah's request. God promised that Ishmael would also be blessed and become the father of a great nation. Genesis 21:12-13. This promise highlights God's faithfulness to both sons, even as their destinies diverged. Despite their separation, the bond between Ishmael and Isaac was never fully severed. In Genesis 25:9, we find a moment of reconciliation when both brothers come together to bury their father, Abraham. This act of unity, amidst a history of division, symbolizes the enduring power of family ties and the possibility of overcoming past conflicts. The relationship between Ishmael and Isaac also carries profound theological and symbolic significance. In the Christian tradition, the two brothers are often seen as representing two covenants, one of the law and one of promise. Paul, in Galatians 4:22 to 31, uses their story to illustrate the contrast between human effort and divine grace. Ishmael, born of human intervention, represents the Old Covenant, while Isaac, born of God's promise, symbolizes the New Covenant. This interpretation does not diminish Ishmael's importance, but rather emphasizes the diversity of God's plans. Both sons were part of Abraham's legacy, and their stories contribute to the broader narrative of God's work in human history. The unity displayed at Abraham's burial serves as a reminder that even amidst division, reconciliation is possible. This moment points to God's desire for unity among his people, a theme that echoes throughout Scripture. It challenges us to seek reconciliation in our own lives, recognizing that God's love and promises are not limited to one group or lineage, but extend to all. The story of Ishmael and Isaac encourages us to embrace the complexity of relationships and to trust in God's ability to work through them. Their lives, though marked by tension and rivalry, also reveal the possibility of healing and the enduring strength of God's promises. In their shared legacy, we find a testament to God's faithfulness and the hope of unity amidst diversity. The legacy of Ishmael, Abraham's firstborn son, is a significant thread in the fabric of biblical history and the ancestral roots of many Arab tribes. Ishmael's life, though marked by challenges and tensions, evolved into a narrative of resilience, strength, and divine promises. His descendants, known as the Ishmaelites, became foundational to the cultural and historical identity of the Arab world. After being cast out into the desert with his mother, Hagar, Ishmael faced hardship and uncertainty, yet God's intervention ensured his survival and his future. Genesis 21:20 records, God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. This verse encapsulates not only Ishmael's survival, but also his development into a skilled and resourceful individual. The desert, harsh and unforgiving, became both his home and his training ground, shaping him into a leader. Hagar's decision to secure an Egyptian wife for Ishmael added a cultural dimension to his lineage. This union symbolized a blending of traditions and strengthened ties between Abraham's descendants and Egypt. Over time, Ishmael's progeny grew into 12 tribes, as promised by God in Genesis 17:20. I will bless him, I will make him fruitful, and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. These tribes, often referred to as the Ishmaelites, spread across vast regions of the Middle East. They were known for their nomadic lifestyle, strength, and adaptability. Their presence is noted in various biblical accounts, often highlighting their role in trade, culture, and regional interactions. For example, Ishmaelites are mentioned as the traders who bought Joseph from his brothers and carried him to Egypt, intertwining their narrative with the broader story of God's people. Genesis 37:28. The Ishmaelite tribes contributed significantly to the development of Arab culture and identity. They became emblematic of resilience and survival in challenging environments. Their traditions and practices influenced the societies they interacted with, creating a rich tapestry of cultural exchange and heritage. In the Islamic tradition, Ishmael holds a prominent place as a prophet and the forefather of Arab peoples. He is revered for his submission to God and his role in the establishment of monotheism. His story is celebrated as a testament to faith and perseverance, with strong emphasis on his lineage leading to the Prophet Muhammad. The interplay between Ishmael's descendants and those of Isaac shaped the historical and cultural dynamics of the Middle East. While tensions and rivalries arose, as seen in the interactions between the Ishmaelites and Israelites, there were also moments of collaboration and mutual influence. These complex relationships underscore the shared heritage and intertwined destinies of both lineages. Ishmael's legacy is not just a historical or cultural narrative. It is a testament to God's promises and his ability to work through diverse peoples and circumstances. The blessing given to Ishmael reflects God's inclusivity and his intention to extend his care and purpose beyond a single lineage. It reminds us that even those who may seem outside the primary covenant are not forgotten by God. The story of Ishmael and his descendants encourages us to recognize the richness of diversity within God's plan. It challenges us to see beyond divisions and to appreciate the unique contributions of each lineage. Ishmael's life and legacy serve as a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness, his provision, and his ability to bring blessings to all his children. The relationship between Isaac and Ishmael, the two sons of Abraham, represents one of the most poignant and complex dynamics in biblical history. While their lives were marked by tension, rivalry, and separation, their story also includes a powerful moment of reconciliation that highlights the enduring bonds of family and shared heritage. Isaac and Ishmael's relationship was shaped by the circumstances of their births. Ishmael, born to Hagar, was Abraham's firstborn, but not the child of the covenant. Isaac, born later to Sarah, was the child through whom God's promises to Abraham would be fulfilled. This distinction created an inherent divide between the two brothers, amplified by the tensions between their mothers, Hagar and Sarah. Genesis 21, 9-10 describes a critical moment of conflict. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking, and she said to Abraham, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." This event led to Hagar and Ishmael being sent away, further deepening the division within the family. Despite these challenges, a moment of unity occurs later in their lives. Genesis 25:9 reveals a significant act of reconciliation. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. This verse refers to the burial of Abraham, their father, and it marks a rare moment where the two brothers come together. The burial of Abraham is more than a filial duty. It is a profound act of unity. In this moment, Isaac and Ishmael set aside their differences to honor their father and acknowledge their shared lineage. This act of reconciliation serves as a reminder that even deep-seated rivalries can be overcome by shared responsibilities and mutual respect. This moment also symbolizes the continuity of Abraham's legacy. Both sons, despite their divergent paths, carry forward the promise God made to their father. Isaac would continue the covenant through the nation of Israel, while Ishmael would become the progenitor of Arab tribes, fulfilling God's promise to make him into a great nation. The reconciliation between Isaac and Ishmael provides a powerful lesson about the importance of family bonds and the potential for healing even in the most divided relationships. It demonstrates that God's plans often include moments of restoration and unity, even amidst human conflict. Their story also reflects the broader theme of God's sovereignty. Despite the divisions and tensions that arose, God's promises to Abraham were fulfilled through both his sons, each playing a unique role in his divine plan. Isaac and Ishmael's reconciliation reminds us that God can work through broken relationships to bring about his purposes. This act of unity foreshadows the ultimate reconciliation that God desires for all his children. It points to the possibility of overcoming differences through faith, humility, and a shared commitment to God's will. In a world often marked by division, their story serves as a call to seek reconciliation and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us together. Ishmael's life and lineage form a significant part of biblical history, extending far beyond his role as Abraham's firstborn. As God promised Abraham, Ishmael became the father of 12 princes, and his descendants grew into a multitude of nations. This legacy, rooted in divine promise, highlights Ishmael's enduring impact on history and his pivotal role in shaping the cultural and spiritual landscape of the Middle East. After being sent away from Abraham's household, Ishmael and his mother, Hagar, settled in the wilderness of Paran. It was there that Ishmael matured into a skilled and resourceful man, as described in Genesis 21:20. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. His life in the harsh conditions of the desert forged his resilience, independence, and adaptability, traits that would define his legacy. Hagar, ensuring her son's future, found an Egyptian wife for Ishmael, further intertwining their lineage with Egyptian culture. This union represented a fusion of traditions and marked the beginning of Ishmael's establishment as a patriarch. From Ishmael's descendants emerged the 12 tribal leaders mentioned in Genesis 25:13 through 16, who would form the foundation of the Arab nations. These tribes, collectively referred to as the Ishmaelites, played significant roles in the region's history. They were known for their nomadic lifestyle, strength, and commercial acumen, engaging in trade and influencing the economies of surrounding civilizations. The Ishmaelites were often mentioned in biblical accounts, including the story of Joseph, where they were the merchants who transported him to Egypt. Genesis 37:25-28. This demonstrates their prominence and interconnectedness with other peoples of the time. God's promise to Ishmael in Genesis 17:20 reflects his continued care and faithfulness. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. This covenant ensured Ishmael's place in God's plan, even as the primary covenantal promises were fulfilled through Isaac. Ishmael's descendants are not only integral to biblical history, but also hold significant relevance in contemporary religious and cultural contexts. Arab communities trace their ancestry to Ishmael, regarding him as a foundational figure in their heritage. Within Islam, Ishmael is revered as a prophet and an exemplar of submission to God, embodying values of faith, perseverance, and divine favor. The interplay between Ishmael's and Isaac's lineages underscores a profound truth. God's promises extend across boundaries, encompassing diverse peoples and traditions. While Isaac was the child of the covenant, Ishmael was not forgotten or excluded from God's blessings. His life serves as a testament to the breadth of God's mercy and the inclusivity of his plans. Ishmael's legacy also illustrates the significance of God's sovereignty in shaping human history. His life, marked by challenges and triumphs, demonstrates how God can transform difficult circumstances into avenues for growth and blessing. Despite being cast out, Ishmael's story is one of divine provision, resilience, and fulfillment. In today's world, Ishmael's story reminds us of the shared heritage between Jews, Christians, and Muslims, rooted in their common patriarch, Abraham. It invites reflection on the importance of unity, understanding, and mutual respect among these faith traditions. As the father of nations, Ishmael's life exemplifies the enduring power of God's promises and the profound ways they manifest across generations. His legacy, intertwined with that of Isaac, continues to shape the spiritual and cultural fabric of humanity, offering lessons of faith, resilience, and hope. The relationship between Isaac and Ishmael is one of the most intriguing and multifaceted aspects of biblical history. Their bond, shaped by their shared lineage, yet strained by the circumstances of their births, serves as a microcosm of the tensions and unity that would later define their descendants. Isaac, the child of promise, and Ishmael, the child of human intervention, shared the same father, Abraham. Despite their different mothers and the complexities surrounding their respective roles in the covenant, they were brothers. This sibling dynamic, though marked by rivalry, also carried moments of reconciliation and mutual respect. One of the most poignant moments in their relationship is found in Genesis 25:9. After Abraham's death, both Isaac and Ishmael came together to bury their father in the cave of Machpelah. This act of unity, though brief, signifies a shared respect for their patriarch and a recognition of their common heritage. In the midst of their differences, they were able to set aside conflicts and fulfill a solemn familial duty. It is a reminder that even in divided families, moments of reconciliation are possible. Their relationship, however, was far from simple. The tensions began early, as noted in Genesis 21:9 through 10, where Sarah saw Ishmael mocking Isaac. This incident deepened the rift between the two families, leading to Sarah's insistence that Hagar and Ishmael be sent away. The separation not only created physical distance, but also highlighted the divergent paths their lives would take. While Isaac remained in Abraham's household as the heir to God's covenant, Ishmael embarked on a journey of survival and independence in the wilderness. Despite this division, God's promises to both sons reflect his faithfulness and sovereignty. Isaac was the chosen child through whom the covenant would be established, leading to the formation of the nation of Israel and ultimately the lineage of Jesus Christ. Ishmael, though not the covenantal heir, was also blessed by God to become the father of a great nation. These parallel blessings underscore the inclusivity of God's plan and his ability to work through different lineages for his purposes. The relationship between Isaac and Ishmael also serves as a metaphor for broader human experiences. It reflects themes of rivalry and reconciliation, exclusion and inclusion, and the complexities of familial bonds. Their story challenges us to consider how we navigate relationships marked by differences and how we seek unity despite conflict. In contemporary contexts, the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael are often seen as symbolic of Jews and Arabs whose histories and destinies have been intertwined for millennia. The tensions between these groups are deeply rooted in historical, cultural, and religious narratives, yet the shared ancestry through Abraham offers a foundation for dialogue and understanding. The reconciliation at Abraham's burial points to the potential for unity amidst division. It reminds us that shared history and mutual respect can pave the way for healing. As followers of faith, we are called to reflect on the lessons of Isaac and Ishmael's relationship, striving for peace and reconciliation in our own lives and communities. Ultimately, the story of Isaac and Ishmael is a testament to God's ability to weave together diverse threads into his divine tapestry. Their lives, though marked by challenges and tensions, are integral to the unfolding of God's plan for humanity. Through their stories, we are reminded of the power of God's promises and the enduring hope for unity and reconciliation. The legacies of Isaac and Ishmael extend far beyond their lifetimes, weaving into the historical, cultural, and spiritual fabric of humanity. As the progenitors of two significant lineages, their stories are foundational to understanding the heritage of Jews and Arabs, and their impact continues to resonate in the world today. Isaac, as the child of promise, carried forward the covenant established by God with Abraham. Through Isaac's descendants, the nation of Israel emerged, fulfilling the divine commitment to Abraham to make his offspring as numerous as the stars in the sky. Isaac's lineage includes Jacob, who fathered the 12 tribes of Israel, forming the foundation of the Jewish people. The covenantal promise through Isaac points to a relationship deeply rooted in faith, obedience, and a divine purpose that culminates in the coming of the Messiah, Jesus Christ. Ishmael, on the other hand, became the father of 12 princes, as promised by God in Genesis 17:20. His descendants grew into the Arab tribes that have played a central role in the history of the Middle East. Ishmael's life symbolizes resilience and survival, as his journey in the wilderness shaped his character and the character of his descendants. Despite being outside the covenant line, Ishmael's legacy is significant, emphasizing God's faithfulness to bless and provide for all of Abraham's children. The histories of the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael are intertwined, reflecting a complex narrative of cooperation, conflict, and coexistence. The Jewish and Arab peoples share a common ancestry, yet their paths diverged due to the promises and roles designated by God. Over time, this divergence has led to both shared cultural elements and deeply rooted tensions. Religiously, Isaac's legacy is central to Judaism and Christianity, while Ishmael holds a significant place in Islam. The Quran recognizes Ishmael as a prophet and honors him as the forefather of the Arab people. This religious divergence adds another layer of complexity to the historical relationship between their descendants, shaping the dynamics of interaction between these faith communities. Throughout history, the legacies of Isaac and Ishmael have influenced political, social, and cultural developments in profound ways. The shared heritage of these brothers serves as a reminder of the common ground between their descendants. It underscores the possibility of unity and understanding amidst divisions that have often been perpetuated by historical and geopolitical factors. Today, the narratives of Isaac and Ishmael challenge us to seek reconciliation and mutual respect. Their shared story points to the deeper truth that all humanity is connected by a common creator. In Galatians 3:28, the Apostle Paul writes, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." This verse invites us to transcend divisions and embrace our shared identity as children of God. As we reflect on the legacies of Isaac and Ishmael, we are reminded of the power of God's promises and the importance of trust in His divine plan. Their stories encourage us to pursue peace and reconciliation, both in our personal relationships and in the broader context of our communities and nations. By recognizing the shared heritage of humanity, we can work towards a future where unity and understanding prevail over division and conflict. As we conclude this exploration of the intertwined stories of Isaac and Ishmael, we are reminded of the overarching theme of God's divine plan for unity and reconciliation. While history has often highlighted the divisions between their descendants, the biblical narrative calls us to look beyond these differences and embrace a higher purpose rooted in God's promises. The story of Isaac and Ishmael begins with Abraham, a man chosen by God to be the father of many nations. This divine promise was not limited to one lineage, but extended through Isaac and Ishmael in different ways. Isaac became the child of the covenant, through whom God's redemptive plan for humanity was fulfilled in Jesus Christ. Ishmael, too, was blessed by God, becoming the patriarch of great nations, demonstrating that God's care and promises extend to all people. The tension between Isaac and Ishmael, though a result of human frailty and circumstances, reflects the broader challenges of human relationships. Their story reminds us of the importance of humility, forgiveness, and a willingness to reconcile. The burial of Abraham by both sons in Genesis 25:9 serves as a powerful symbol of unity, showing that familial bonds and shared heritage can overcome even the deepest divisions. In the modern world, the legacy of Isaac and Ishmael continues to shape the identities of Jews and Arabs. The historical and cultural narratives derived from these two lineages have influenced not only their descendants, but also the global landscape. Yet, amid the complexities of political and religious tensions, the biblical message remains clear. God's plan is one of restoration, peace, and harmony for all humanity. This vision is beautifully captured in the book of Revelation, where John describes a scene of ultimate reconciliation. In Revelation 7:9, he writes, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb." This vision of unity under God's authority transcends all earthly divisions, offering a glimpse of the future God desires for His creation. As followers of Christ, we are called to be peacemakers and agents of reconciliation. In Matthew 5:9, Jesus teaches, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." This call challenges us to bridge divides, foster understanding, and work towards harmony in our relationships and communities. By embodying Christ's love and grace, we can reflect the unity that God intends for His people. The story of Isaac and Ishmael reminds us of the richness of God's promises and the depth of His love for all nations. It encourages us to look beyond our differences and embrace the shared humanity that binds us together. In doing so, we can move closer to the fulfillment of God's divine plan, a world where peace and reconciliation prevail. As we navigate the challenges of our time, let us draw inspiration from the biblical narrative, remembering that God's promises are for all who seek Him. May we strive to live as ambassadors of His love, promoting unity and understanding in every sphere of life. Together, we can reflect the beauty of God's kingdom and contribute to a legacy of hope and peace for future generations. Thank you for taking this journey through the biblical narratives with us. May the lessons of Isaac and Ishmael inspire you to seek God's will, embrace His promises, and work towards a future marked by love, harmony, and faith. May God bless you abundantly, and may His peace guide you in all that you do.